Okay, so me and Teeter Pup gonna take you for a little walk today. This is actually a video I've been trying to do for like 2 damn weeks, but every time I went to do it, it was either raining or it was too windy to get any decent sound quality out of it. So we finally got a decent calm morning, so we're gonna do it. So when I did that cover crop video, had 2 guys tell me I was 100% wrong, and that having a cover crop on your field helps it to be warmer in the spring and decrease soil moisture because you have a crop mat on it. One guy wrote a like 5 or 6 paragraph essay explaining how wrong I was, and how everything that he's found in farming with cover crops and whatnot, which is fine. If you can make cover crops work for you, more power to you. Whether right, wrong, indifferent, if it works for you, fucking have at it. But that being said, I wanted to find out for myself and for the sake of you guys, so I went out and I bought me a soil thermometer. This one's actually calibrated. It's a soil thermometer. It's a China one because they're hard to find, but well, all the US ones I was finding had 36-inch probes, which seemed a little excessive. Teeter, come here. So obviously I don't have a field with a cover crop, so we're going to use the yard, which, if you think about it, a yard is basically the perfect no-till cover crop situation, because other than the fact that you don't spray the grass off to burn it down, I bet the root mat on a good healthy lawn is probably at least 2.5 to 3 feet deep. It hasn't been worked in God knows how long, and compaction is minimal because you're hardly ever driving over it. So if you think about it, a lawn is a perfect no-till cover crop situation, unless it's intentionally managed, like those people that need a golf course lawn, in which case they're probably packing the ever-living fuck out of it. But this is not that case. So just to keep an even playing field, I'm actually going to use the high spot here because there's water in the low spot yet. And we'll see where we go. It's still creeping down a little bit. It moves. I've been playing with it. It moves really fast, and then you gotta let it sit for about 30 seconds once it slows down, because it creeps. Still moving a little bit. What are you doing, Teeter? You could train her to be a hunter because she kind of tries to point on her own. She does everything except lift the leg up. Okay, it looks like it finally settled out at 40. I hate it when they do this. They got a 40-degree mark, a 50-degree mark, and then 3. My eyes are screwing with me. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. So I'm guessing that's like right around 48 degrees. Teeter Pup. Now, this is going to be fall chisel plowed with tile in it. Now, this lawn has tile in it too, because when we tiled this, we ran a tile up in here. So this is technically tiled as well. And where's a good spot? Let's pick a spot. Let's pick a spot right. This area right here is probably the closest in soil type to that right there, so it's going to be the most honest representation. Ooh, that's a tough spot. I'm scared pushing on this thing too hard because I don't want to break it. Slowed down at about 52. Teeter. When she gets her nose on something, she does that lab thing, and she just doesn't want to do anything. There, we settled out at 50 degrees. So the fall worked ground is 2 degrees warmer. Now, 2 degrees is, as far as air temperature goes, doesn't sound like shit. 2 degrees as far as soil temperature goes is a big deal, because seed will germinate once soil temperature breaks 50 degrees. So seed will germinate in this dirt. Seed will not germinate in that dirt, because that 2 degrees is that big of a difference. Now, let's try fall works dirt without tile in it. And for that, I got to go over to the other side of the hill, because there's no tile back there, and you get down to that bottom side of that hill and it's about the same grade as this, and the soil's about the same. So let's go check that out. Okay, someone's struggling to walk on chisel plowed ground. Okay, this looks like a decent spot. Let's just poke one in the ground, right? Let's go here. Peter, you're in the way. Yeah, you're in the way. Get out the way, pup. I'll be dang. 50 degrees again. I figured the tile would make a difference. But that being said, this soil back here, I guarantee you if that tile was not up front, that soil would be colder up there, because there's a spring. Because, well, quick story time. There's one other spot I want to go check out. We'll go check out. We'll go over on that soybean stubble where I ripped, and we'll check fall ripped soybean stubble. But quick story time about that particular spot. So that farm up there is the original homestead to this 40 acres, and that farm is where my grandma grew up. And back in the day, there was somewhere, nobody can remember where, and there's no pictures that anybody knows of, there's a damn corn crib up there. And everybody remembers off one corner of that corn crib, there was a spring that bubbled up out of the ground, and then there was a little creek that ran down through here into that ditch, which I'm assuming it wasn't always a ditch, because my grandma remembers when they brought a steam shovel in. They actually tiled with a steam shovel. They brought a steam shovel in, the county did, and ran a county drain, and from to that point, and then they open ditched it from there. But when they put that drain in, they just pushed the creek shut. So when they did that, there was all sorts of drainage problems through here, and there was times when that basically was unfarmable because it was so damn wet. So I had that tiled, and there's, I think, 3.5 acres down here I have tiled. The rest of this field is fine, but just that spot when they pushed that spring shut and screwed up all the drainage. But okay, so I gotta take a little bit of a walk, and we'll go check out that bean field just to have one more comparison. Okay, that was a bit of a walk. I wanted to come clear over here because this corner is the most similar soil to what we were looking at over there. This field right here is lighter ground, and we're trying to keep this an even playing field so that nobody can bitch that I'm padding the stats. So let's just pick a spot. This looks like a good spot. Let's just do it right here. What you doing, pup? What you doing, pup? Are we doing science-y things? I am really incredibly happy with how this this fall rip ground laid down. If you remember, it was that ripper humps real bad, and you can still kind of see it. But last fall, it was humped really bad, right where that front shank, since it's a V-ripper, right where that one started to lift. And over winter, that freeze thaw we had in the snow, this stuff just, it's still got a little bit of a hump, but I hit this at an angle to soil finisher. This stuff is just gonna be a beautiful seed bed. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Teeter pup, look out. And that there is about, it's between the two marks, so let's call it 49 degrees. And this corner's gonna be a little wet because I'm assuming there's another spring over here. This is another spot that, well, this whole front, this field needs tiled. There's a spring that bubbles out, you know, right, I don't know if you can see that swale right there. There's a spring that bubbles out of the side of that hill that the people that used to live here, they use that for a hog waller. They run their hogs out there so they could play in the mud. And it's wet. That entire low spot is wet. That spot right there probably still has a little bit of water standing in it. I think that's the lowest spot in the whole field, because that's where water always stands. And 2 years ago I had to farm around that front corner because I just physically could not get through it. And then it's wet all the way around here, and the wet spot actually goes into that field about halfway down them short rows, about over to in line with that telephone pole and back out to that waterway. This always lays wet in here, so I'm hoping next year, or well, actually, yeah, I'm gonna have corn out here, but if we have a decent fall, I'm gonna try to get weed out here behind the corn. Like, this is all dependent on good weather conditions, but I'd like to get weed out here behind the corn if possible. I know it's not ideal, but that way, after I take the weed off next July, I can get my tile guy out here and we have decent weather to come in here, and I'm gonna system tile that and system tile around this hill, because the hill's fine, it's just this low spot around the hill. But so that's probably why this is a little cooler, is because this is going to be wetter right in here. It looks dry on top, but you dig down probably 4 inches. I bet it's probably still sopping wet. Now, there is going to be a caveat to this whole deal with this soil being warmer than, let's say, this soil. And I guarantee you this is going to be cold because there's a tile running in here, and I can still hear a little bit of water when I walk on it. Teeter pup, come on. Let's say tomorrow it gets cold and we get a good hard rain, and it's a nice cold soaking rain. If we get a rain on it, this will probably be about 2 to 3 degrees colder than where that grass is, because that grass puts a layer of insulation on the ground. It's going to be harder for that heat energy to escape through that grass mat than it is just through bare dirt. That being said, bare dirt, or semi-bare, since we still got stubble on top, because, you know, working it clean isn't, as much as I love moldboard plowing, it has its disadvantages, and leaving a clean surface is one of them. But this dirt will rebound soil. Sorry, somebody's gonna bitch because I'm saying dirt. Well, you know what, fuck you, I'm saying dirt. This bare dirt is gonna rebound faster because that guy right there doesn't have to work as hard to dry the surface out. You dry the surface out, it's gonna try to pull water up out of the ground, because water has a property called cohesiveness. Water's got 2 properties when it comes to being sticky. Adhesion is water adheres to soil particles. Cohesion is water adheres to itself. And it's all got to do with molecular attraction. So, not only is the sun drying the surface, but as the surface gets dry, the soil is going to try to replace that water because it wants to stay right around its carrying capacity. So it's going to pull soil up out, or water up out of the ground. and dry your lower subsoil layers. Now that's only going to happen for like 6-7 inches, because after a while it gets hard for that water to hang on to itself, because once it gets lower, further away from its carrying capacity, water's adhesion attraction to soil is going to be stronger than its cohesive attraction to itself. The higher the concentration of water, the more water is going to want to stick to itself rather than the soil. So there is basically what's going on here. Yes, if you get a cold rain or a cold snap of temperatures, bare soil is going to cool down faster. But bare soil is also going to warm up faster, because that insulation layer of cover crop or crop residue works both ways. It's harder for the soil to cool down, but it's also harder for the soil to warm up. Now, that being said, that's the way it is around here. That's just the way it works with our soil type. I'm not saying it's going to work that way everywhere in the country. What works in Iowa is going to be different here. What works in Mississippi is going to be different than in Iowa. What works in California is going to be different than what works in Colorado. It's all got to do with location and climate. So I'm not saying that if you're in another part of the country and you're cover cropping and doing it successfully and you're seeing different results with your soil temperature, that you're wrong. I'm just saying that's not the way it works around here. And I love it when guys that don't farm within 500 miles of this place try to tell me that I'm farming wrong. But I also love it when I can use an actual tool to say, yeah, you know what, you're wrong. But that's what I gotta stress. I can't stress it enough. I'm not saying that no-till's wrong. I'm not saying that cover cropping is wrong. It's situational. There are situations where it works great. There are situations where it works not so great. This is one of them situations where it works not so great. Now, you go 40 miles east of here, where I work, all blow sand. I mean, like, it's one step away from beach sand. Almost every acre over there is under irrigation. Actually, it looks like this. This is the only sand I farm, is this little spot right here. No clue why it's here, makes no sense other than the fact that glaciers form this place, and the way glaciers form soil, nothing makes sense. But not only is it over there, is everything under irrigation, everything is still full with tillage, but almost everything is under cover crop. However, they do it because there's a lot of seed corn growing over there, a lot of potatoes, a lot of carrots, mostly specialty crops. And what's this? Eye bolt from something. Specialty crops like that are very heavily managed. Lots of soil compaction, lots of passes over the field, really hard on the soil. They need that cover crop to help maintain their soil health, just because everything they grow on it is so intensively managed. But they can get away with it over there because they're farming sand. They have to put more water into the ground to get anything to grow. They don't have issues getting rid of it. We have issues getting rid of it because our soil's so heavy, and we got springs and potholes, and you have no trouble finding water around this place. So anyway, I'm curious to see how many people tell me I'm wrong, even though they looked at the numbers on the thermometer and could tell the difference. So, but I wanted to do this, A, because I was curious for myself, because I had a hard time believing I was wrong. I'm not saying I'm always right, but there are some things where it's like, you know what, guys do this shit around here for a reason. And I had another guy tell me, actually it was one of the guys that told me I was wrong about cover crop and soil temperature. He says, because I mentioned that nobody around here cover crops, but most everybody's still full with tillage, and I had some guy say that's just because they have that's the way we've always done it, so that's the way we're going to do it mentality, which is kind of a piss poor state of mind to be in, because this area actually has a lot of what I would consider progressive farmers. Guys around here they'll try almost anything once. There was a lot of guys when strip till came out, tried it, didn't work so great around here. There's a lot of guys that went VT tillage. There's still a lot of guys doing VT tillage. VT actually surprisingly works fairly good around here. There's guys that tried cover crop and it don't work worth a shit unless you absolutely positively have to do it for soil health reasons. But agriculture in general, as far as industry goes, because agriculture is an industry, is probably one of the most technologically progressive industries there is, because farmers are in this to make money, and if they see something that's going to make them more money and make their job easier, hell yeah, they're going to do it. 50 years ago, it might not have been that way, because you had a lot more farmers that were like, show me first, and then I might consider trying it. This day and age, like, you go to the farm show and there's something new out, there's this guy's foaming at the mouth, give me, let me try it. Then if it fails, we're going back to the old way. But that being said, I also like tillage, because tillage is hands down one of my favorite things to do. I'd rather sit in the seat doing tillage than anything else. Fucking hate spreading fertilizer, hate spraying. Mind-numbingly boring because you can't see what you're doing. I love drilling beans because you can just fill the drill and go. Planting's kind of so-so, just you gotta stop so much to refill the planter. But shelling corn and doing tillage, hands down, my two favorite things to do. I live for the seat time doing that stuff. That's partly why, that's one of the reasons why I don't want to do no-till. No-till is just mind-numbingly boring. You get the tractor out to plant, you get the tractor out to spray, you get the tractor out to spread fertilizer, that's it. And spraying and spreading fertilizer suck. If I had enough ground to hire those two things out, I'd do it in a heartbeat, just so I wouldn't have to do it. That's how much I hate spraying and spreading fertilizer. But tillage, chisel plowing and moldboard plowing, that's my thing. I love chisel plowing and I love moldboard plowing. I would sit for hours and hours and hours if I could. I wish I had 1,000 acres so I can moldboard all of it. I would be the happiest son of a bitch you ever seen in your life. I would only do it like once every 5-6 years, because you don't want to do that every year. We've proven that. But anyway, I probably ought to wrap this video up because it's already getting kind of long. So I guess that's it for this one, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Teeter pup, what are you doing? Goofball's eating corn leaves.